and let us all do we can to build a better future. So Hollywood is in a situation where we're seeing a fight between the studio executives, the actors, and writers. Now, again, I understand where the writers are coming from, but all in all, I'm rather happy to sit back and watch the implosion of Hollywood. For far too long, these studio execs, these corporations, have been having their finger on the pulse of entertainment for quite some time. These corporations control numerous IPs, and there's a lack of creativity. And let's face it, there are some good writers, but the vast majority of the writers in Hollywood have been producing subpar stories and movies for quite some time. Yes, this is just my opinion, how I feel about it. So, before we get out of the perspective of what's happening with the writers, I want to first pull up the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. I don't even know why he's even relevant or even want to come back into the job. I mean, Disney is a sinking ship, and for that, I welcome it, especially after what they've done to numerous intellectual properties. But whatever, it is what it is. Because apparently the CEO of Disney is saying the actors' demands are unreasonable. But let's face it, these CEOs, they're making millions upon millions of dollars. Shout out to Case Study QB for finding this video segment.
Disney was asked about the strike earlier today, this on CNBC, from out in Sun Valley, the Ellen Company conference. And he said, listen, you know, it's their right to push for as much as they can get. But he described the actors' demands here as unreasonable, going too far. I just want to give you a chance, covering this so closely, to respond to that.
This is a tough one because then you have on the other side someone like Fran Drescher, the president of SAG-AFTRA, who's saying, you know, you're being really greedy. When you look at the salaries of these CEOs, of the studios, of the streamers, it just makes everyone's blood boil here in Hollywood, and actors who can't pay their bills when they're making tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. So there is going...
How interesting is it? Hollywood, the land of dreams, is becoming the land of everlasting nightmares. Look, I remember there was a time when I was young and I thought, oh boy, I'd like to move to Hollywood. I'd like to move to LA. Thank God I never did. Because the people I know who live in California are either wanting to leave it, have already left, or are trying to save up to actually get out of that damn state, be it by train, plane, or automobile. I want to pull up this next video here from Case Study QB. I want to pull it up for all you lovely people to check out.
Surprised that it has come to this. For 4 weeks, they've been trying to hash out a deal. There were moments, I will say, that we thought, okay, maybe they're going to do it. But then this week, when they brought in a federal mediator at the literally during the last hours, you knew this was not going to go well. Like you know, previously was said, there has been a media blackout on everything, but I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. Right now, Hollywood is coming to a complete stop.
Yes, and I welcome Hollywood coming to a complete stop. From my own personal opinion, Hollywood has been producing crap. Pure crap from intellectual properties that literally could produce gold just from a drop of sweat. Disney turned Star Wars into something basic and mediocre. Hell, look what they did to all the other Lucasfilm properties. Willow, I mean, they took that off the streaming service. And folks, save yourself the trouble from watching Willow, okay? There's a character in there named Kit. They actually take my name. That character brings shame to my name. But anyways, making it too personal. You know, look what they did to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery. Yeah, by the way, spoiler alert, there's a scene in that damn film, because I watched it pirated. They're not going to get my money. There's a scene in that damn film where Phoebe Walker, you know, she's the actress who played Fleabag, right? There's a scene where Indiana Jones' friends die and they escape, and Phoebe Walker is like, ha, 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 laughing. And Indiana Jones looks at her and says, hey, my friends are dead. And the acting range on this person is terrible. She's like, oh, sorry. By the way, there are numerous scenes where her mouth is open like this. She's like breathing through her mouth. Really off-putting. There's a scene where like she's running. She looks like a giraffe that doesn't know its left hoof from its right hoof. I'm being mean, but I'm on my anti-hero arc, okay?
Technology is so central to this disagreement here. The advent of AI, artificial intelligence, right? But also streaming, right? Are they getting, and clearly they're not getting what they think they should get from streaming platforms. How much has that shaken these relationships?
Basically right now, there is just no trust. Like you said, when it comes to streaming, what the actors want is they want more residuals. For many, many years, for decades, actors, and I'm not talking about the $20 million, the A-list actors. We're talking about the actor who just makes a living as an actor. They made their living off of residuals. Last night I was at an event. I was with Melanie Linsky from The Last of Us and Yellow Jackets. And she said for years, it was residuals that paid her bills.
Now, look, again, Hollywood is a place where dreams go to die and people become corrupted. By the way, folks, listen. There's a lot of horror stories in Hollywood, okay, folks? I do hope that Hollywood does collapse under its own weight. And what I would like to see is the rise of film studios no longer being in California, but happening all over this great country of ours. A new wave of creation. Because right now, a lot of these studios are completely creatively bankrupt, okay? And a lot of these corporate people are telling their writers to rework and reimagine previously told stories, okay? Or either that keep an IP pushing out product. Like, again, case in point, Disney Marvel. They should have stopped it at Endgame. Let it rest, like you're cooking a steak. Let it rest. Let the steak rest for a little bit. You don't eat it right away. You got to let the meat rest. And then maybe 10 years down the road, recast Iron Man or Black Panther or Captain America. And make a whole new slew of movies again. But oh no, they killed them or pushed them off screen. Dumb. Put me in the game, coach. I know what to do. And by the way, just so y'all know, the series Willow was absolutely terrible. Okay, again, a little bit off subject. But look, there's this character, went by the name Kit. This character was completely insufferable and brought shame to my name.
So most of the actors going on strike are not the $20 million actors. They're the actors who need these residuals. The problem here is the streamers don't want to open their books and let people know exactly how many people are watching these shows.
Well, it's such a great point. It's a very tiny sliver of those 160,000 actors who make those big ticket payments. For folks at home who are dedicated to their Yellowstones and you name it, streaming series, how quickly will they see an impact from this?
They could start seeing an impact right now. I think most of the streamers, the studios are saying for the next 6 months, they have their content.
Yeah, so we're going to stop here because there's something else that's been brought up into the chat here too. Serena Sawyer, you bring up a very, very good point. Don't forget, it's not just live action media, but it's also animation. Notice how they've been getting big movie stars to voice act instead of talented voice actors. That is very, very true. Okay? And let's just face it, a lot of those voice actors do a lot of great work, and now some of them are being pushed aside for, well, Hollywood talent. Again, come on, Hollywood actors. You can live off the royalty checks from your big films, okay? Stop muscling in on other people's work. It's sort of like that time when Kim Kardashian tweeted out, I forget what year it was. Hey, who has the winning super lottery ticket or whatever it was? And somebody tweeted underneath her, hey, stay out of poor folks' business. So I want to pull up this other side of the argument. It's Fran Tresser talking about why the strikes are happening. Shout out to Case Study QB for getting all 4 of these clips out there.
The Screen Actors Guild, actor Fran Drescher this afternoon. We'll try and get to that sound when we can cue it up. She was announcing the union's unanimous decision to strike after 4 weeks of negotiations with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, after those negotiations failed to reach a deal on a new contract. Comcast, the corporation that owns MSNBC's parent company, NBC Universal, is one of the entertainment companies represented by that alliance. At midnight Pacific time this evening, the
she had to mention BSDNC.
nearly 160,000 actors represented by the union will join members of the Writers Guild of America who have been striking for the past 72 days for their own contract. This collective action will be the first industry-wide Hollywood shutdown in nearly 63 years. Joining us now is Fran Drescher, president of SAG-AFTRA. Fran, Ms. Drescher, thank you so much for making time this evening. I know that you have a lot going on. I'll get right to it. 2 weeks ago, you were quoted as saying the union was having extremely productive negotiations with the studios. Can you tell us what transpired between then and now that is leading SAG to strike?
Well, I think that we were dealing with a lot of peripheral, issues that seemed to be going well. And so I guess naively, I figured it would continue to go that way. But as we got closer to the core issues, it seemed like we were either being stonewalled or were further and further apart from coming into any kind of a meeting of the minds. And that came as a real disappointment to me. I didn't expect it. And I really feel profoundly saddened that we got to this point. I wasn't really, we did everything we could to avert a strike, including extend by 12 days in an unprecedented amount of time. And we really had to convince the membership that in earnest, we thought that we would be able to carve deeper inroads. And that was why we felt that if we could only extend a little longer.
So hold on, there's a little bit more to this because I want to pull up the next video here in regards towards what they're doing. And again, look, I have to agree. Look, these writers and actors, especially those that don't make that 6 or 7 figure salary or higher, let's face it, it's probably a lot higher. A lot of people are really struggling to make ends meet in Hollywood. And Hollywood is, of course, right next to LA. And to be clear here, LA is pretty expensive. Hell, all of California is pretty expensive, right? And there are stories of people buying one large bag of rice and eating on that for like maybe a month or two. That's how bad it is out there. The rent is astronomically high. You have people living in their cars. Hell, you have people living in tents. It's impossible to really make it in that land. And all these Hollywood executives who have their fancy mansions in Beverly Hills are living on cloud 9. And I think it's long overdue that we see the end of the influence of Hollywood. It's time for it to fall apart. And look, here's the thing. I want these strikers to win. It would be nice to see them win. But I think these corporations are going to try and starve them out, unfortunately. I think they're going to use brutal tactics. And look, these CEOs are already hemorrhaging money out of these corporations. I want to go a step further. I don't think they can meet the demands of the strikers because I think Hollywood and a lot of these big studios have a secret underlying problem. And that is, this is just an opinion, direct eye contact. I think a lot of these studios might be in the red or nearing it. That's how bad it is. And so these CEOs are right now doing la, 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 la. We can't hear you. There's a big collapse coming our way. Just throwing it out there. Everyone be surprised when it happens or act surprised.
That maybe we could avert a strike. But in fact, they didn't come to the table all that often. They canceled a lot of meetings. I thought maybe they were duking it out behind closed doors and they were actually going to come back with something of substance that was meaningful. And boy, did I get a surprise because we got bupkis basically. And, I think we were duped maybe to allow for more promotion of summer movies before we, struck.
Wow. Can we just talk a little bit about the sticking points? Because I know the union is asking for better pay. They want residuals on streaming. And there are some concerns about artificial intelligence. Can you talk at all about?
Yeah, so we got to talk about AI too. Don't ask Kamala to talk to you about AI because you're going to get nothing but a word salad. But apparently, these studio execs are using ChatGPT to write scripts. And of course, let's face it, AI is making art now. There's a lot of things artificial intelligence can do. It's not perfect, but, you know, I remember joking about this with my colleague Daniel. And we actually laughed about it. That someday that there's going to be a point to where AI is going to take a lot of people's jobs. And I asked him, Dan, realistically, when do you think it could happen? And he said, well, it could happen now, but technology is not perfect. And this was in 2020. But I say maybe, I don't know, 3 years down the road or maybe 5 years at best, don't quote me to it, that will have AI playing a significant role in our culture. I mean, it technically already does. And the thing is, he was right. And I think we all see it firsthand just how advanced artificial intelligence is getting. We're seeing what it can do. For those of you who don't know, I've played that U.S. Presidents versus Zombies video a few times on the show. Yes, it's funny, but there's going to come a point to where eventually it's going to look a little bit more realistic. The voices are going to sound more on point with the people it's trying to copy and mimic. The technology has greatly improved over time, and it will continue to do so. And if it's that way, don't look me in the eye and tell me that Hollywood executives would not replace writers and actors and other people with artificial intelligence just to make a product for consumers to eat.
About what is most troublesome to you about the latest bid from the studios?
Well, definitely everything that you've mentioned. I mean,
and by the way, I do want to acknowledge something in the chat. Ashura says, why is there an echo in that BSDNC studio? That's a very good point. Who's in control of the sound there? Don't make me get phased after you.
Artificial intelligence is a threat to workers around the world. What we are doing here, the eyes of the world are watching. We happen to be able to get a lot of interest because of the celebrity component of our labor force. But that doesn't mean that what's happening to us is unique. And everybody is watching to see what happens because artificial intelligence and the pursuit of greed by big business is systematically cutting labor out of their livelihoods. And we see that happening since the introduction of streaming, as well as all different kinds of things that AI and digital has imposed on our industry.
And the thing is, when a new technology is delivered, first people are hesitant. But once it's being implemented and people see just how cost effective it is, these Hollywood executives care about one thing: the dollar, the bottom line. That's it. And again, this is just my opinion, but the way theaters are, again, empty, because let's face it, I remember back in the day when I was a kid, early 2000s, if I really wanted to be extravagant, $20 was all I needed to enjoy a day or night at the movie theaters. Now, those prices are up there. And a lot of these Hollywood studios are no longer, meeting up with their expected revenue. A lot of these big movies are going broke. They're going under, and their budgets keep rising up. Again, controversial statement. 3, 2, 1. I don't think even if the Hollywood studio execs wanted to meet the demands of the, it could meet the demands of the strikers, I don't think they could sustain itself. I think these Hollywood studios are in a serious financial disaster. I think they are either nearing the red or in the red, or they're just at a perfect balance. And that's why, because again, mismanagement from the people at top.
Basically, the entire business model has changed, and they're still just thinking that we're going to be satisfied with incremental changes from a contract that was forged in 1960, and it no longer applies. It's a completely different game. And so that became a mounting problem. And when you talk about what the journeyman...
Now, I do want to pull up another video to this because, again, shout out to Case Study QB because I think it's important here to listen to what Fran Dresser is saying.
that is the majority of our members who are just working class people trying to get jobs to feed their family and to pay their rent. And this is the people that we are really going to the mat for, because they are getting hurt the worst and getting marginalized to an extent where it cannot be tolerated anymore. So, it's imperative that we don't settle for a proposal that is a minimum, which essentially ends up paying those people less than what we made in 2020 in real money. And that's what we're supposed to be satisfied now until through 2026. It's insanity. And those aren't the only things. The old contract was based off of shows like The Nanny that had great longevity and a long tail of revenue. And that was the name of the game. And everybody above the line, up and down the ladder, prospered from it.
It was a point. Unfortunately, that no longer counts because these corporations got greedy. Which again, look, I would like to see these strikers win. But I think they might find out that the great bank vault where all the gold is at is empty. It's like that scene from Game of Thrones season 4 when Tywin Lannister tells Cersei that, yeah, Castle Rock, yeah, we're out of gold. And the face she looks, it almost looks like she crapped her pants. Again, Game of Thrones, when God, the writing were good during those days. Yeah, the face she makes. It's like, what? The gold is gone? And I think that's the same thing for these Hollywood studios. I think they're not financially stable, and they're putting on this face of, okay, everything's fine, when it's not. Case in point, this Indiana Jones film, they underreported what they were really spending it on.
But now with streaming, it's not like that anymore. It's in a vacuum. You're in a box. You're walled in, and there's no tail of revenue to follow. And it's not even based off of what it used to be based off, which was eyeballs and ad dollars. Now it's based off of subscriptions. So you don't even get the amount of episodes that we used to get. I used to do 28 episodes.
Yeah.
Now you're lucky if you get 10, 8.
Yeah. There was a time when a season had maybe 20 episodes, and now it's 10 or 8. It's not good. It's not great. Not terrible. But it should show you the state of mind about where these studio executives are at. Why shows get canceled, why things get done.
Everything. And
how do you make a living on that?
I hear you on the changing nature of the industry. I mean, it bears mentioning that the Writers Guild is also striking for many of the same reasons, the disruption in the industry. The studios often say this disruption in the industry is making them rethink their revenue streams. I mean, how do you see your goals and the writers' goals dovetailing?
Well, first of all, this is a dumb question by the reporter, but here, let me keep it simple. Why should the writers and the actors work together? Because the writers make the scripts and the actors read the scripts. Plus, maybe the actors could be like, hey, look, I kind of get the mindset of this character. Can I shoot some ideas? Maybe we could rewrite this scene here because this is how I see my character. I mean, that's how it used to be back in the day. And the thing is, yeah, writers and actors need to talk to you. Writers, actors, and actresses. Got to include the actresses. Like, hey, I could see this scene playing out. Again, it's all interconnected. Now, again, the reason why things are bad right now, it is because of the people on top. The people on top, the CEOs.
Do you think that your strike is going to happen?
So let's play the last video again. Shout out to Case Study QB for putting this all together.
And I know that there's been some reporting, at least from one studio executive, who said the studios are determined to, quote, break the Writers Guild of America. Are you?
And yes, these studio executives will do that because most of them are sociopaths. A lot of them knew about Harvey Weinstein. A lot of these sociopaths know about some of the other criminal organizations that are happening in Hollywood. We have all heard the stories. And yes, they are true. This is Hollywood, baby. It's what we all know. Hollywood is ruled over by sociopaths, okay? These studio executives, have a long, terrible, and brutal history of doing horrific things to people, writers, actors, actresses. We all know the stories, and I have to be careful what I can say because I don't want to go into detail. But hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 if you're like, no, kid, we got to save Hollywood. It's the land of dreams and movies. I just want to live in my bubble and be safe. Type 2, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn all down, burn all down, burn all down, burn all down, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn all down, burn all down. I better see that.
You guys going to be there to support them? I mean, are you working hand in fist?
Let me just say that for anybody to say that shows the arrogance and complete disregard and disrespect for a community that contributes so much to the industry upon which they prosper. It's just unconscionable, the complete disrespect to the people that contribute so much, and we're experiencing it too. I thought they would come to the table and really want to make a deal, but that was not the case. Being stonewalled and being faced with a kind of resistance that's almost irrational. I mean, it's not just about money. There are things that they want to have our background performers work one day for and get scanned for AI, and then they own the likeness of the person digitally, and they could use them over and over again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These Hollywood studios will capitalize on it. They're waiting for ChatGPT to improve itself. They're waiting for AI art to be more animated so it looks like a living person, so there's no uncanny valley effect. They're waiting for it. You don't think these Hollywood execs are looking at how can we get rid of waste? I want Fran Dresser, and these writers, these actors, these actresses to succeed. So these Hollywood studio execs want to break them. They want to see the strikes fail. I would say we should stand in solidarity with these writers and actors and actresses. I encourage them to stand strong. But I give this warning, and I said this before, and I just want to repeat it again in this segment. I think these studio execs are hiding a bigger secret, and that is they might be in the red or in the red. All right. Now, if I'm wrong, hey, I was wrong. But they're playing this game to starve them out. Because Hollywood, the great lie, and whatever I've said about lies, you could tell a really good lie. But the thing is, think of a lie like it's being used to build a foundation for a house. And the thing is, a lie can present itself properly, but let's say the load-bearing wall can't support the building. Let's say the foundation is weak. Let's say the basement's leaking and you also got a patchy roof. Eventually, all lies do fall apart. And Hollywood is the biggest lie of them all.
What is going to happen to that hardworking background person? They're going to be out of business. This is the kind of thing that's happening all over the world.
The issues that are being brought up are so novel, and yet in some ways the struggle is the same as it ever was. Fran Drescher, the president of SAG-AFTRA, thank you so much for your time tonight, Ms. Drescher. We sincerely appreciate it.
And you know what? That's why we have unions.
It is.
Because people don't do the right thing.
It is why we have organized labor in this country. Thanks for joining us this evening.
And that's a good note to end it on. I don't know what the future holds for entertainment, but perhaps maybe this could be the beginning of something far better. We shall see. But in the long run, folks, keep your heads on a swivel, keep on winning, and more importantly, folks, now's the time for us to look at these large corporate institutions and to give them the middle finger.